Hey everybody, this is the MTG Noob here, bringing you a deck tech with a black-red zombies list that I've been playing around with a little bit. It's pretty sweet. It is not really pure zombies, and the red, as you can see, is really only in here for this charming young lady. So let's go over it the way I like to do. I wish I could enhance the screen for you, but does not seem like there's any way to make the card images bigger, so I apologize for that. All right, let's go over our lands. 22 of them for Cavern of Souls, 4 Black Cleave Cliffs, 3 Dragon Skull Summit, and 11 Swamps. Now, really important fact here about the mana base is your Cavern of Souls basically should be naming zombies on the regular. However, if you are missing a red source, you want to be naming vampire if you have one of these in hand. Usually by turn 4, you will have figured out how you need your mana. But remember, if you end up needing a red source and only have a caverns, it's probably wiser to play caverns naming vampire. Okay? So let's go over our removal suite first. 2 Tragic Slips, 3 Doomblade, 3 Geth's Verdict, and a full boat of Dismembers. Now Dismember, I believe, is in here basically because Restoration Angel is becoming very popular and it's very good. So this is actually a very removal heavy deck. Okay, and then let's talk about the other stuff in the deck, which is creatures. 4 Gravecrawlers, 4 Diagraph Ghoul, 2 Fume Spitter, who's like a little wiener that also doubles as removal, so he's pretty versatile. 4 Highborn Ghoul, who at the moment, you beat in for 2-1 and it's unblockable most of the time, since most people aren't playing black. It is a zombie, so it works well with getting back Gravecrawler. And, it does its job. Nothing wrong with that. 2 Blood Artists. They are good at gaining you some life, especially with all your removal you're playing, and kind of getting that last few points through in tough spots by sacking a bunch of your guys to the Aristocrat. Okay, and 2 Gloom Surgeon. I call him Gloomy Bear. He gets in, just kicks some butt as a 2-1, fills a spot in your curve. He's more aggressive than a lot of the other options, like the Priest, which you see in the board, and the Blood Artist, and you're already filled up on Highborn Ghouls. So that's why he's in there. Let's just talk about if combat damage would be dealt to the Gloom Surgeon, prevent that damage, and exile that many cards from the top of your library. So sometimes he's a liability, but he also helps you dig deep, and he's a creature that just punches through and keeps getting in. Okay, and then finally, Messenger. I shouldn't have to talk about this card. You know it's a beating. And really, finally, this time around, Aristocrat, which kind of is the glue to the deck. It swings in, it hastes, it flies, it trades with a lot of the flyers in the format. It has 1 toughness, so it's okay at blocking. It's also good at changing my color scheme, even though I'm going to keep it. And it is really good, like I said, at getting those last few points of damage in and kind of sneak attacking out of nowhere. Now, in this deck, you're not playing any humans except for the Priest in the board, so don't expect it to be growing very often. Okay, let's talk about the sideboard. 2 Gut Shots. Obviously, for public enemy number 1, bring these in against Delver. Kick their butt. Dead Weight, any birds, anything you feel like you can't really handle on turn 1, you bring this in, also Delver. It's a little slower, but gets the job done. Priest, where you feel like you kind of need a trump card, comes in good. It's really good against a lot of, decks in which you're killing their dudes, and then you just need a guy to be a giant 5/5 demon. Just you're able to make that happen pretty often. As I shipped one to my board, there's two. Two more Gloom Surgeons to just keep bashing in, bashing in. I mean, it blocks actually really well against, you know, things that would usually hit you. Now you're blocking, you're preventing the damage, but their guy is tapped, and you are sitting there defensively. Okay? A Mortapod, just because sometimes you want to shoot things with one toughness, and sometimes you just want to be able to get that last point of reach in. Two Ratchet Bombs, because you're pretty screwed to Sword of Feast and Famine, and there's certain enchantments in the format like Wild Defiance, Birthing Pod, things like that that you're kind of cold to. So this is kind of your little catch-all. Not the greatest of options, but okay. Speaking of pod, two Thorper Orbs, they basically shut off a lot of creatures that enter the battlefield, like Huntmaster won't get his wolf, Blade Splicer won't be able to come in with a token, things like that. This is actually a really good, and against decks like Pod, if you have this in play and they try to fetch up an acidic slime, it's just like, nope, okay, you have a 2/2 death touch, now what? Okay, and finally you have Liliana the Veil. I would bring this more in on the play, and especially if you gotta get rid of a few pesky creatures in the beginning. She doubles as removal, and she's also good against control decks because they're so busy trying to deal with your early aggression and creatures that you end up being able to slip Liliana in and being able to discard, 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 and rebuy things like Gravecrawler, and eventually just screw them over with the -6 ability. Okay, so hopefully you enjoy this deck tech. Please check out the matches that precede, and as always, thanks for watching, and please subscribe.